Did he just say they turned Taylor Swift into an ass? Asset. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I have problems with multisyllabic discussions, obviously. Yeah, we've talked about that. We've kind of indicated this to you. We knew this is the way the Hollywood slash entertainment types work. Um, if they start to become popular, the deep state gets a hold of them. The CIA absolutely uses them. You think the CIA doesn't use him? Think about Beyonce and her crazy husband spending that time in Cuba with the negotiations that they were doing. Of course, they are used, and this has been going on for a long, long time. So it's not news, but you kind of knew it when they were trying to figure out how to make NFL more popular and the way things go. So CIA is involved as usual, it would seem like. Um, all righty. So we've had more news here in the first 10 days of 2024 than in the previous 10 weeks. We know now that the deep state cabal has us working off of a satanic Gregorian calendar. So here's a quick example of that. The English to Latin translation of the calendar months, September to December, are as follows. September, as we think it is, should be the ninth month, is it not? Yet in Latin, septem is 7. October is the 10th month. Octingenti in Latin is 8. November is the 11th month, and Novem is 9. Oh, but it gets better. The closing month, which is December, should be the 12th month. Oh, well, isn't that what we're told? Yet decim or decum is 10. So clearly there's been manipulation of at least 2 months. It's undisputable at this point. I would love somebody to give me that debate, but it's been messed with. And this is the satanic crap that they do. In fact, it appears that their New Year's is actually an homage to Sirius and the Dog Star. And that's why it's on January 1st, because it's at its highest point. So it goes on and on and on. If you want to get more information on that, just go to screwbiggov.com and you can see the full video there, or our Telegram channels. Videos literally going viral. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because maybe, just maybe, the white hats are playing within the Gregorian calendar system as a counterattack to the deep state spell casting. Frankly, whether we like it or not, I think they're spell casting on both sides. I think that's the way they operate. But we do know that the guys try to use the bad guys construct numbers and calendars against them. So I believe this is probably what's going on, and that's why the first 10 days have been epic. Either way, 2024 looks hot and heavy, but with the momentum that we clearly have, this is the time to share and share and share some more. So we welcome you here. We thank you. We thank our admins and everybody that works in the background to help us. Please help us break these crazy algorithms, and the only way to do that is you have to like, share, subscribe, and unfortunately check your subscription, because we know a lot of people get knocked off. Now I want to bring in my guest host, my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend with his beautiful smile, Robert Imbriali.
Oh, I'm doing color today. That's my job. The color
Yep,
commentator.
you are the color commentator
You do
today.
the play-by-play. I'll do the color today.
Yep, perfect. All right. Well, speaking of that, please
Oh, Taylor
remember.
Swift fumbled on that one. I don't know what she's thinking. She needs to go back to training. She should go back to the minors for a little bit, get a little more training. Oh, I'm so bad at doing color for sports. Sorry, football's not my sport.
Talk about mixed metaphors. That was fun. But folks, while you're here, remember, please visit screwbiggov.com to gain access to all we have to offer, right? In addition to that, Robert posts all video clips we use and don't use on the show on his Telegram, Renegade Media channel. So it makes it very easy to grab anything and share it all over the place. Even our shorter clips will be on his channel, and the shorter ones will be on my Telegram channel. So, Robert, let's just get into the news. unless
Yes.
you have something to say, because there's a lot going on.
I am feeling like you, Lewis, where it is just unreal how much is popping in just the first 10 days of this new year. We knew something would change, and we expected a lot. And I got to tell you, I was listening to Bannon's show this morning. I know you're not really a huge fan of Bannon, but he was espousing the same feeling that it's just popping in every different direction. He was talking about all the stuff that's going on in other countries and how the MAGA people in other countries are stepping up and having an impact. And it's like, okay, is it just a matter of time now before we start to see more of that here, where we're having a lot of pushback from the good guys? Because we haven't seen that yet. It's been very quiet.
Well, I think Bannon nails it. I believe the MAGA types, the MAGA types would be make their own country great again, are absolutely stepping up. All over the place you're seeing. We're going to get into a story about Ecuador today that we can parallel to El Salvador and to MAGA. It's very interesting the direction we're going. People are waking up though, even liberals. So here's our first story. This will give you an example.
Yeah.
The public schools are crumbling under the influx of what? Illegals. That's right. We'll give you one example. In New York City, there's an influx of, get this, tens of thousands of illegals in just the last few months. Conservative estimates reveal that as many as 10,000 non-English speaking students have been infused into the school system in New York. This is for some schools to be over 120% capacity. Now, this is a result from the border state governors sending the illegals to where? To so-called sanctuary cities, right? So that's what they're doing. They're sending them to sanctuary cities. Now, because it's affecting the local children's education system, the parents are actually stating that the in-class instruction is not only confusing and multi-language instruction is messing everything up, but it's teaching children subjects that are 2 to 3 years behind their current grade level. So the parents are apoplectic because their kids are relearning things from 2 to 3 years ago. There's no way they're going to be able to move forward. And you already know that the school system in New York and the United States alone is some of the worst in the world. Imagine compounding this on it. Remember, the color revolution, the goal is to deconstruct everything good and make it messy. They're doing a hell of a good job. Now, how is Mayor Eric Adams taking this? He's not only declaring a state of emergency in New York, but issuing, get this, Robert, barcodes to help track the migrants. Now, many teachers, parents, and administrators are claiming the government numbers are lies, and it is at least twice as bad as what we just stated. What do you say, Robert?
I'm going to say, I'm wondering, and this is when you're talking about this story, I was wondering if they're getting paid as they do here in California. They get paid by the number of heads in the classroom. That's how the schools make their money. That's why they don't care about the immigration status at all. If we have 100 of them and they're not citizens, who cares? They have 100 heads, they get paid X number of dollars per head. So I'm wondering if it's the same deal in New York. It would make sense as another liberal state, if you will. And, they're playing that same game. But this is not a school system anymore. I mean, if you thought the public school system still had merit, and I went to public school in New York. That's where I was born on Long Island, and I went to public school. Not at all the same today as it was back then. Completely different. And, you didn't know that it was bad then. I think you're getting a clue now. 120% overcapacity.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. And it's undoable. I mean, it's unworkable. You can't even work within the system. So in the 70s and 80s, they started to overfill our schools. So I started to notice how many kids we had in our class. And even as a teenager, I saw the education level going down because the kids didn't get any attention. And the kids that were semi-disruptive were just always pull out of class. Right? Because they couldn't handle them anymore. But it's only gotten worse since then. And now with the influx in New York, I mean, can you imagine having a sixth grade student and they're going to reteach you reading at a third grade level? It's
Yeah, you're
ridiculous.
going
It's
backwards. You're not going forward at that point. And
oh,
you
it's
know, the whole
disgusting.
concept of school is it would come from the industrial age, right? It came from when industry came along, and they needed what? They needed a lot of employees. And what did they need them to be? They needed them to be trained to read and write, right, and do basic math, that kind of thing. That's what school was designed for. But it's a crazy system.
Rockefeller is the one that created the system.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep. And then you put one teacher who teaches 30 students in exactly the same way, and you say good luck. And the ones that are really good at memorizing are A students, and the ones who aren't, who need to learn more experiential, hands-on, touchy-feely, kind of like you and I tend to learn that way much better. I could see it, I could get my hands on it, I learned it immediately. Talk to me about swimming in a book, and it's like I'm never going to get it, right? And those kids fall behind, and we say they're dumb. I always thought I was dumb. I never did better than a C average in school. And I got out of school, and once I got into the real world, I realized I just didn't have the skill it took to ace those tests,
Right.
you know?
Right. Well, I learned a long time ago that application is much more powerful than education.
Correct.
And if we can learn a little and then apply it, that we learn a lot more by actually making mistakes. Oh, God forbid we make mistakes. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
I always say fail forward. I'll write a book about it. You need to fail forward. It's a great thing. Embrace failure. They're like, what? Why would you possibly do that? Yes, embrace the little failures because if you're smart, you will learn from them and only get better and better and better and better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But without trying stuff on our own and being spoon-fed everything, we're not going to grow. So it's really sad what's happening in these school. Our kids mean everything to me, you, most people that are watching this, and to see this happen is crazy. So again, the parents, where's it going to ultimately it's going to help though, because you know what? There's going to be a lot more homeschooling going on.
Okay,
And those
what's
kids,
that's it. That's the whole thing, right? So it looks bad on the outset. It looks like it's a disaster. It's crashing. It's a pile of crap, right? The whole school system. But on the other side of it, what are you going to have? You're going to have a lot of private tutoring, right? There are a lot of parents getting together. They're hiring a teacher. And Monday, Lewis, it's at your house. Tuesday, it's at somebody else's house. Wednesday, at somebody else's house. Same teacher. And they're telling them, what they want their kids to be taught. And it is much better than being in the indoctrination system. And the kids are getting the attention they need because the groups are small, 5, 6, 7 kids. So
well,
we look at the
and
other side of this and says, we're going to win.
absolutely,
Yeah,
because the kids are also accomplishing as much and learning as much in a 2.5 hour session as they did in a full 7 to 8 hour
correct.
session,
Yep.
which is beautiful, much more efficient. It's smart, but our systems aren't
I could
built
do
to
a
be
whole show
smart.
on school system. It's like, here you go to school and then you're 8 hours in school and then you got 4 hours of homework.
Yeah,
And that's what they teach you in school. Now, when you get into the workforce, what do they tell you? Don't take your work home with you. Why did
that's
they learn
right.
that in school? Hello?
Right.
It's like the teacher
So
doesn't do
let's
their
get in.
job, so they give it to you. You go learn on your own. You do that tonight. Yeah, you don't go out and play and spend time with your parents. You just bury your head in books like you did all day.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
never did my
Uh,
homework, by the way. I never did my every excuse in the book. I never did homework.
Me neither. And I have a long a story of how I got held accountable for that, but it worked out to my advantage. But I'll tell that another day.
Ah,
We're running a little long now. Um, so
so
talking about maybe some MAGA things going on in other countries, or how about parallel to El Salvador? Let's check this video out of what happened in Ecuador, where gang members, yes, they are gang members, actually went in and took hostages in a television studio live. All right. So what happened is Tuesday, 13 masked gang members. How do I know? Because they were flashing gang signs. They were very proud of it. They stormed not just that building, but several buildings countrywide, including that TV station, but use it to the advantage. I've talked to people there, and I can tell you before this action, the El Salvadorian president, Nayib Bukele, I believe, or Bukele, it was actually that country was number 2 in the most lethal, dangerous country on the planet, El Salvador. And it's now in the top 5 safest countries. I have 2 friends down there and they're loving it. They say it's phenomenal. The food is great. The air is great. The people are great. They can walk the streets at night and have no concern whatsoever. Maybe, just maybe, this is what the Ecuadorian president is
Is the
doing.
top five safest countries. I have two
And
friends down there and they're loving it. They say it's phenomenal. The food is great. The air
uh,
is
sorry, there we go. She muted. All right. So to give you an idea, um, I'd like you to also show you, we have another follow-up video. I don't know if you have it there, Robert, which shows you the response from the local police that actually ended this action. Robert, I know you have some opinions on this. It seemed like what happened is I know there was somebody that was caught coming out of the ground in an area that was construction coordinated off, and he was filmed live, and then they posted it on Facebook or something like that. And then there may have been an investigation already going on, but that prompted the police to go in, and sure enough, there's tunnels. I mean, all over underneath the ground that they created, and unfortunately, so what you say on this?
Mattresses and bedding and all kinds of stuff they found in there. This is a story that it just pops up and you go, "What the?" You can't even wrap your head around it. It's like, wait a minute, this is a highly religious community, right? Look at the way they dress. It's all about their religion, their religion, their religion, and they're involved in this. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even compute. The brain cells just go, what? What are you talking about, Rob? This doesn't make sense. So it'd be interesting because we want to know more about this story because we're not getting, it's sort of chaotic right now and the information that's coming out a little bit sketchy. But I wonder if we're going to get more. Is just going to be another one of these things that gets buried?
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Speaking about burying, is there the police right now, the New York Police Department is talking about bringing a bunch of trucks there and filling those tunnels up with cement. Okay, I have an issue with that. Where does the investigation go? You fill those tunnels up cement, just like they did on Epstein Island. Next thing, there's nothing to investigate.
Yep.
Are they helping the problem go away? Are they trying to cover something up? These are the questions to ask. And then you want to go down, why is this place in a Jewish place of a prayer or a synagogue? Why would it possibly be in something like that, right? And then you can go down the whole Khazarian mafia. And if you talk about the Khazarian mafia and there's fake Jews and real Jews, immediately I'm an anti-Semite just for bringing up the truth.
Yeah.
Because you get tagged immediately as an anti-Semite just when you're trying to tell the truth. But guys, we have to tell the truth now. We cannot jump around or play games anymore because we have to expose the deep state cabal because they're on their heels. And our guests coming up are going to prove to you because they're doing fantastic work. We're getting the baddies on their heels, and they're almost not knowing what to do. In fact, there was an incident today with Leslie, which tells me that they're scared, so they overreact. So, Robert, let's give you the last word on this, and then we'll bring in our amazing guest.
Yeah, I'm going to follow this story a little bit more. Obviously, New York being my hometown, I want to know more about what's going on there. And it's just like this just broke. Was it yesterday this came out or last night? So it'll be interesting to see if they release any more information. Because normally, like you say, you get these kind of stories and they're really sensational, and then they disappear. It's like they get buried. Literally, they get buried.
Yep.
But we want to make sure these things don't get buried because we want to continue the narrative of telling the truth. And so often the cover-ups happen, and there's so much going on right now. We get lost in it. There's so many pieces to it. So let's hope we don't lose this one.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep it going. Well, you and I did a great job at keeping the Hawaii narrative going in Maui, and until we disclosed what the truth was over there. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to do the same thing on this story.
Mhm.
Now, I'd like to bring on. I'm very excited about our guest today, and let me tell you why. Because I know one very well. She's an absolute patriot. She's been on here before. We've mentioned her before. She's in Arizona. Her name's Leslie Shepard. Phenomenal. She does great work. She's I guess you would say she has, gonads because the way she works, Um, but then we're gonna go down a whole different road on there. I can just tell you she's got a lot of courage. She's phenomenal. And she introduced me um to a few ladies, two of them which are here today that work with the Affidavit Mamas. And wow, are they doing some work. So, and that would be Rosemary Spalding and I believe Deborah Bohem. I say it again, I'm sorry. Well, you were muted, but I think you said BAME.
Yep.
Okay, I got it.
There we go.
All
Sorry.
right. Cool. So, Robert, I don't know who you can bring on screen now, but let me start with Leslie a little bit because she had an interesting incident today already at the Board of Supervisors meeting in Maricopa County. And then we're going to go in from the wonderful work that the Affidavit Mamas are doing. Leslie, so great to have you here.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you that you have us here. We always appreciate you covering what's going on here in Arizona.
Well,
Hang
you
on
know, I
just
say
one second. I'll bring Leslie on screen here. Just a moment.
okay.
You went.
Well, where I've always said where Arizona goes, the rest of the country is going to have to follow.
Yeah, no
And I
question.
think you guys are leading by example, which is pretty extraordinary. We're still working on it, Robert?
Yep, still working on it.
All right.
All right.
So
There's Leslie for you.
perfect. Awesome. So Leslie, what happened today at the Board of Supervisors it was at Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, is that right?
Yes. Well, a bunch of wonderful patriots showed up. It was awesome. We overwhelmed them with people going up on agenda items and various items. But the part that they about lost their cookies was the very end when it was the public comments. And one of the gentlemen that got up, who was videotaping him at the time, he really just started holding their feet to the fire. We have a new chairman, Jack Sellers. You know, now Clinton Hickman's out of the hot seat, but he decided, now explain who's in charge. And then they kicked me out.
Of course but who kicked you out? I think that's interesting what you told me on the phone.
Well, it was Jack Sellers and two of the guys, armed guards, but you know, I'm not down on them. They're trying to make their paychecks. You know how that goes, Lewis. I mean, still, I mean, they should pick and choose, but I guess when times are tough, I don't know. I don't want to justify them. But anyhow, but what happened was I'm trying to put my stuff away because, you know, I got everything laid out, scripts. We got signs we hold up saying your 2 minutes is up. And then we show them a clock, which drives them crazy, or we give them thumbs up, thumbs down. You know, it drives them crazy. But a gentleman came up forward because I guess I wasn't getting out the door fast enough after I got kicked out. And he said some choice words, which I'm not going to repeat on here. But he basically told them to get me to get my blump, bzz, bzz, out of there. You know, so it was pretty heightened, but I had people that were hearing it in one video that you couldn't hear what he said so clear, but I have witnesses. So now we're going to start pursuing that as well.
Wow. So
never a dull moment at the Board of Supervisors in Maricopa County.
There's not been there, done that. It's very clear to me that they're affected. And this is a lesson I'm trying to tell everybody. And when we're going to bring Deborah and Rosemary on in a second, the fact that they're affected is a good thing. And the fact that they lash out is a great thing. It doesn't work to their advantage at all. All it does is expose them further. So you keep putting the pressure on them and putting the pressure on them, and they're going to crack. And it looks like they're cracking big time. I'm so proud of the work you guys are doing over there, and I'm hoping everybody in the rest of the world will start using this as an example of we the people do hold the power. We just have to grasp it and take it. Who should we bring on first, Leslie, or both? Oh, both of them.
Yeah, take me off, bring them on.
All right, perfect. Well, we got all three of you. That's fantastic. So let's start with you, Deborah.
Okay.
What the heck are you guys doing out there?
Well, we have been doing what are called notices and affidavits for 3 years. And we've had some moderate amount of success just doing that, where for instance, people were being told they would leave. So that's huge. Other situations similar to that with universities that were doing the same thing. They weren't kicked out of the university. So that's one thing. We've been going and giving school boards and city councils and the legislature and the governor and the attorney general, these affidavits, sheriffs, everybody, these affidavits and notices about all the different things that are going wrong in every area of government for the last 3 years. And but then at the beginning of this last year, 3 fellows approached me about writing a remonstrance by affidavit for them, which is a strongly worded affidavit, more strongly worded than normal, and about elections. And so we did that. We worked on it for a few months, and then we put that out at the end of May, and we had Rosemary, well over 600, almost 700 of those affidavits signed by people just here, mostly in Maricopa County. And at the same time, we were giving those to Leslie then to read at the Board of Supervisors, which they did. And we gave it to other county people as well to read at their Board of Supervisors. And so then in August, we put in an original writ of constitutional question about the entire set of Arizona state statutes that have to do with the elections and the Help America Vote Act from the United States Congress. And so, long story short with that, we have, it is now in total default in our favor. And so we are pushing them, we're pushing the court to actually do something with that. One of the things that Leslie had read at the Board of Supervisors today was a writ of quo warranto, which was issued to everybody, including the military, Trump, the United States Supreme Court, that said that they should be doing what they're supposed to be doing in protecting the constitutions, which means that they come in and remove bad government actors for us so that we can hold another election. So far, we haven't seen any of that activity happening. We shall see. In the meantime, we've also been intervening in DCS cases, Department of Child Services cases. It's known as CPS in some states, DCS in some states, Department of Children and Family Services in others. And we did the same thing with the DCS situation. We put in a case. We did a writ of habeas corpus, a writ of mandamus, a writ of default judgment, a bunch of other things, and it's in complete default in our favor as well. And so that one's actually getting some more movement, more than our election one at this moment. There's a lot going on.
Wow. I mean, it does, so people know real quick, a default in essence is they didn't respond. And
Right. So we put ourselves in as the plaintiffs, myself and these 3 fellas, and then the defendants in these cases were the entire Arizona legislature, all of them, and some other people as well. And so they tried in the election case to respond with attorneys, but they were wanting to put us into administrative tribunals. We entered the case as an original writ under judicial court, in a court of record, which means that it's not in an administrative court. The difference is that in a judicial court of record, there is a trial by jury. In an administrative court, there's rarely a jury. All right. And so they kept trying to shove us into their administrative courts, and we wouldn't have it. And finally, we issued a writ of prohibition, and then it all stopped. They were asking us for permission to do things at that point. The lawyers were. And so the default means that they didn't do what they were supposed to do in the time period they were supposed to do it in. And so it now defers back to what we were requiring.
Wow. Okay. So I just want to mention a couple things, and then we're going to go on to Rosemary. One, guys, at the beginning, you mentioned that you're having, say, limited success. I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. You're having extreme success with this. Other people have tried it without much success before. But as I've said, and Leslie's heard me say this very, very, very much so, you must get everything on record with inside this cabal system. So it does, if you don't see any fruits from your labor today on a certain issue, that's in the record, and you will see the fruits going forward, and it builds. You keep watering that seed, and that tree starts to sprout. So your success, I think, is phenomenal. This and the fact that you did what you just did, I think, is exceptional. But it's so important that we get this on the record. Now, here's what you're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong. And I think this is very, very interesting. What you're doing is you're working within what I call the corporate law structure, right? Because they work under a corporation law. That's kind of what they do. But you're using constitutional and common law language when you are submitting the paperwork. Am I right?
Yes. And so, yes, we're not using any attorneys. None of us are attorneys. There's no attorneys involved on our side at all.
Mhm. Now, the beauty, folks, of them using constitutional and common law language is, as we said many, many times here on this program, you have to have one foot in and one foot out of the system. That's the only way you're going to take the system down. Like Leslie and everybody over there is not going to take the board of supervisors down if they're always standing outside the building and never doing anything. Them going in, getting in their faces, and putting them on record is what makes the difference. So you have to. I know a lot of common law folks will say, I just don't get involved in it whatsoever. Well, the reality is nothing gets done, right? So you use the constitutional common law language with inside their system, and they become apoplectic. Sometimes they don't even know what to do, and they stutter. I've seen it happen, and it just blows me away. So I applaud you and what you guys are doing. Let's bring Rosemary in. Hello, Rosemary.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. What could you add to the conversation here?
Well, we would like everybody to know that, we are here to help if we can. And we do 5G cases. We've been working with 5G. We've been helping people not get the towers put into their own little cities and stuff around the country. We have gotten kids back or taken out of DCS cases around the country. So there's a lot of different avenues that we work in now that we never thought we would. But the biggest thing is you need to know your Constitution. You need to know what it protects you for, what it says before you can do any of the work that we do. You should also, have like Black's Law and maxims. We put those into the documents a lot. You want to make sure that you know the court case. You want to know the whole entire court case, because you might pick a piece out that does fit into your narrative, but if you don't read the rest of the court case, it could actually turn on you and be misused later on down the road. So there's a lot to know when we're doing this. And Deborah is phenomenal when she's writing and stuff like that. I think that's the reason why we love her so much, is because she kind of takes all that away from us. But the rest of us are definitely there doing the behind the scenes work and stuff like that. So we just do whatever we can to help anybody we can help.
So, Louis, you should ask Rosemary about being the notary, because notaries are clerks of the court, and we've done some interesting things in this.
That's right. And I will. Let me finish up on a conversation right here, and I'll get to that, because I appreciate that. So, Rosemary, I know you're working on one of these DCS cases, and you're having a lot of traction in regards to that. Let me just preface so everybody understands the game that's played within the cabal construct. And oh my Lord, did I call it a cabal construct? Yeah, I don't even have my tinfoil hat near me to put on, but it's the fact. So what happens is they're known as CPS in most states, Child Protective Services. What happens, and it directly happened in Arizona, and I featured in the movie Cages, they started to get a really bad name. They were actually called kidnappers. People were holding, and they were calling themselves in cases sometimes kidnappers in the Arizona CPS. What suddenly happened after that, guys? They changed their name. Now, why would that be? Because when you search Arizona CPS kidnapping or Arizona CPS scandal, you're going to get all of it, even on Google. But you know, the manipulation just changed the name. Now it's DCS. Anybody searching DCS, well, they're only going to get information that was post changing the name.
Mhm.
So this is a strategy that these psychos use, and they use it in other states as well. And they, under the guise of, well, it's, you know, it's children's services. Well, it's all BS. We understand the game. So let's real quick talk about that case, and let's go into a little bit more details on what's going on there and where it is now, if you're allowed to.
We can talk about it. The child is still not home. His grandmother is his guardian, and he was taken from her because he was spanked with an open hand, spanked. He undoubtedly needed to be spanked. Well, anyway, and so that case is in complete, like I said, complete default in our favor. No lawyer ever responded to, nobody ever did anything except that DCS was still doing their like subterranean meetings underneath our court case, like nothing, like they had no reason to answer to us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so just recently, we gave them a writ of continuance saying that they could no longer do anything until this big case that we have in the Superior Court can be answered. We put it, so it's in complete default. We put in what's called a writ of default cause a week ago, a little more than a week ago now. And in that, among other things, we put in a demand for money for harm, for recompense for things. And well, that prompted the Pima County, where this is, judge to now turn this case over to a Cochise County judge, because our reasoning is that the Pima County judges all rotate through these courts, and so by virtue of that, they're all compromised, and so they should all recuse themselves, and so it had to go out of the county in order to be with a judge that wasn't compromised theoretically, and but so that was that change from Pima to Cochise happened on December 28th. Yesterday, we found out that as of yesterday, it had not been sent to that judge. So here's Pima County, who has it in the letter that was issued on the 28th. It said this should happen immediately. Of course, their definition of immediately and ours are probably two different things, because as of January 9th, nothing had immediately happened at all. And so one of the fellows in the group called and talked to the clerk in Pima and threatened her literally with, if anything happens to this child, any harm comes to this child, you're going to be personally held liable for it because you haven't done what you were supposed to do. Well, then she was saying it was going to take up to 2 weeks to get to the Cochise judge now that she was actually going to do something. And he said he told her it better happen by tomorrow. And so then he called Cochise, went through the same thing. And so that's where we are right this minute.
Okay. Well, no, beautiful. And I appreciate the work you're doing on that. And folks, it's very important. You've heard them mention that they're not using attorneys to file their cases. That's a good thing, and here's why: because attorneys will make these backroom conversations and backroom deals, which financially generally benefits both sides. It's the game that's played. So staying away from that, I think, is exceptional. That's a fantastic explanation of that. Let's go back to Rosemary and talk about notary. Because
Well,
this was brought to my attention when I saw you guys a few weeks ago, and I thought it is very, very interesting.
yeah, it's as a notary, you don't necessarily know some of the importance that you can have other than just signing a statement or witnessing something for somebody. But we've done some research, and I'm sure there's a lot more that we still need to find out. But a notary, being a clerk of the court, they can witness in a court for somebody that is, like, say they're their client. So if I did an affidavit for somebody, I could actually go to the court with that person, even if it was in a child DCS case, and I could be the witness. The judge cannot remove me from the courtroom, which they often do in juvenile cases, because they don't want anybody else to know what's going on. You can, as a notary, clerk of the court, you can actually have a judge removed from a case if you see them acting inappropriately or doing the wrong things in a particular case. But what we did was, in the court case that we've got going on, we were putting in some paperwork. And so I went down to the court with everybody, and we signed it. And when we were trying to put the paperwork in, they were refusing to allow the paperwork to go into our own case. And me being a notary, I witnessed all of that going on. And then I went back home and I wrote my letter stating what had happened. And then I went ahead and signed it. And then I had Leslie sign it. And then we turned that in. And when we did do that, and then turned it over to the U.S. Supreme Court, they said that the only reason why they actually looked at it was because of the letter that I wrote, and as a clerk of the court. So that was the only reason why they were going to look at that. So then what we decided to do was, because a lot of the notaries that we have in our group and out in the state itself, we're having everybody make a statement as to what they've witnessed, what they've seen, what they've heard and stuff. And then we're going to get all of those notarized and use those as evidence against the courts as well, because we know that the courts aren't doing their job. They're not following the law. They're not treating the people properly. They're allowing DCS to come in and criminally remove these kids through fake warrants and different things that they're doing. And so as far as we're concerned, if we can remove DCS, we want to do it.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's, what's the motivation for this trafficking, which I believe goes on within the DCS? This is in essence what it is. What's the motivation for them? I know it, but I think we need to tell everybody what their motivation is.
It's all money. It's all related to money. Every single child that's in the system brings in, if they're in Arizona for a year in the system, they're bringing in between $85,000 and $100,000 into the system, each child. All right. And so when you count up the fact that they have a quota of children that they are trying to take every month, which is right around 1,000, that's a lot of children in the system bringing in money. The judges, the lawyers, the DCS workers, everybody benefits from this, except, of course, the families who are harmed by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, people don't understand how they get their money. They don't always get it in the form of a check. In Arizona, what's very, very popular is you just pay off people with mortgages. So you give them, there's a piece of real estate, the loan is under their name, it all looks legit, and then next thing you know, it's paid off. And therefore they get the property. That's one of many, 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 many ways, but there's so many avenues they get paid. And my biggest concern is the attorneys are never attorneys for their clients, they're attorneys for the system.
Right.
And they all make money on these cases. Even if they're defending a parent trying to get their child back, which they say, which most of the times they're not doing, they're getting paid for every appearance. They're getting paid for all the work they do on that. So a continuance is better than a win.
Well, and we have a situation where we've been working with this one couple for a year and a half. Their baby was taken in December of 2022, and they were supposed to be getting him back. That jumped through every single hoop that could be jumped through. And then the child's attorney said that it was not time yet. Because if everybody, all the other people in DCS, all of them were ready to return this child except the child's attorney. And why would that be? Because that woman is going to lose her cash cow with that child.
That's exactly right. And the psychologists that are involved in it. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's a self-perpetuating system, and it's quite disgusting. Robert, would you like to weigh in on this, my color commentator today?
My color commentator. I'm speechless in some ways, because we hear the stories of the kids being taken, and I'm just watching in the chat room, and people are saying I think all the rest of it, and it's just crazy, and it just makes me wonder, Lewis, how do we unravel it all? We've got a lot to do here.
Well, I think we're given an example of that right here, actually, because it's very, very important that they always you got to put them on record. Yeah, and I scream at the rooftops of this, and the reason why is because I can do a great news program here, and sometimes we get lucky, and because of the pressure that we put on a judge, maybe something goes in our favor, but it's not on record. Right. So that cycle can just happen again until that judge is held accountable again. The beautiful thing about putting on record is when that record builds and builds and builds, you're really building a case. And you're building a singular case with multi cases. So you can show the patterns of the way this stuff happens. So this is extraordinarily important. And I appreciate the work you're doing and the work you do, Leslie. Let's just go real quick through each one of you, and then we'll let you go. First, I'd like to say thank you very much. I admire you. I honor you because you're doing the work that needs to be done, and everybody can make a difference like this nationwide. They just have to decide to do it. So let's go with you, Rosemary, first. Any last words? Not that it's my eulogy, but
Just wanted to let everybody know that we're here. We will work hard to help you if we can. You can reach us at our website, which is being moved at the moment, or you can reach us at our email address, which is affidavitmamas2021@gmail.com. And if you look behind Deborah, you'll see it's MOMMAS is how the Mamas part is spelled. And reach out to us and see what we can do for you. If we can, we are more than happy to do that for you. We would like to get cases in every single state, because if we can, we want to bring the corruption down all around America, because we're at the breaking point right now, and we all know that.
Beautiful. So Affidavit Mamas 2021@gmail.com.
Right.
And for those of you that don't spell like I do, that's affidavit with 2 F's and a T at the end. Let's go to you, Deborah. Any final thoughts?
Yes. As Rosemary said, these cases are significant. As you said, these cases are significant, and we have more DCS cases here in Maricopa and around the state waiting in the wings, just waiting to be submitted into the system so that we can distress them some more. But as Rosemary said, if you contact us, we will do all that we can do to help you. And that's our goal, is to help people. That's what we do.
Appreciate it. Leslie, final words?
Just don't give up. I think what Lewis said is exactly where I'm at. My goal is, I know that these people are going to be facing military tribunals. I want to make sure that stack is so big and fat next to them that there's nothing they can do. And I want them to think about us when they lay their head on their cot inside, when they do what they've done to these children. This all comes down, this is all about the children. This is not about a party, because there's only one party. It's called the Uniparty. And then there's we the people. And people just haven't figured it out yet. And I want to share something. This water bottle you had me on before, remember, regarding water?
That's right.
Guess what?
What?
Next meeting, it's official. We get to be like all the other big kids inside of the room. We get to bring in our own drinks just like them. Today we didn't get to, but I snuck in 5 and made sure they saw them. So anyhow, just don't give up. Don't give up. Show up. Get it on record. It has to be on record.
Right.
You can do this.
So what Leslie's referring to is, it may seem like a small battle, but they banned water bottles in Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and under the guise of, because you may throw it at them like, a sandal towards George Bush, which is necessary, I think. But anyways, the reality is so they fought this battle and push, and now it looks like we the people win, and you get your water bottles back. And that may seem like a small win, but it's not, because it always shows we the people have the power. We need to stand in our power, and we need to fight back, and we will get what we want, or they will leave. Yeah. I've seen full school boards walk out because they couldn't take the pressure anymore. Right? That's okay. You just revote one on the spot. Ladies, I'd like to thank you. And I also want to mention there's something that you don't talk about much that I know you do a lot. And I believe this is a huge part of this. You pray together.
Amen.
And I think that's extraordinarily important.
Yes.
Get that energy going in the right direction. So from Robert and myself, love all 3 of you. Appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you very much. If you have any really cool updates, let me know, and we'll feature it in the future. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Robert. So, color commentate.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I was watching in the chat room and how much the people are supporting them, and they're like, "Go girls, go girls, go girls!" And we need those people, those leaders in our society to step up. And here's the cool thing: you don't have to be, a superstar to be able to do it. You can just be who you are and just make that decision to show up. I think what Leslie said, show up, show up, show up, makes a lot of sense. And we're not seeing a lot of showing up in this society right now. We're seeing it in other countries. It's starting, but we're not yet seeing it here. So it's really good when we get an example of that to feature it here, to let people know, hey, look, it's happening. May not be that visible yet, but it's happening.
Well, and who really created the idea of a superstar anyways? That image is probably created by the cabal. So let's recreate the image of what a superstar really is, right? These ladies are superstars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm sure they could probably dunk over Michael Jordan too, but whatever. But they're absolute superstars. And this is what's important, is we need to refocus on who the real heroes are. And I think we just featured them right there.
I think
Robert, thank you for coming. Hey, let's take a break.
Let's talk about Cooper.
Oh, I wasn't going to talk about too much about the pets today.
I want to hear about Cooper. I want to know what he's up to.
All right, so we've got Cooper. I don't know. I think he's one of our dogs. He's a husky. This guy, now when I come home, or my wife, he's jumping up in the air, full on jumping, so excited to see us. He hasn't done that since he was 3 or 4 years old. And I think it's even at a higher level now. I mean, the results we're seeing with him, we have a dog that's, 17 going on 18. Doing fantastic. We have another little one. He's the biggest one we have. He's like 165 pounds, but he's doing great. I just got, in fact, good thing my son's not watching this. I just got, for Christmas, my wife and I just purchased a bunch of pet foods and super sauce and a toy from sbgpets.com for one of our oldest kids because he has a cat. So it's fun stuff. Absolutely, guys. So go to sbgpets.com. Now, tomorrow, Robert, myself, and Bruce are going to do a roundtable with uh, Kurt and Kristen Ludlow, who happen to be working with the pet company. But the roundtable is going to be about a lot more current events, everything that's going on in today, because these are very intelligent people, and you're going to love hearing that interview tomorrow. And maybe they'll talk a little bit about the pets and the results we get with them also.
The results are stunning. I was having the conversation with people here at the farm this morning about that too, and they're like, "My cat's sick." I'm like, "Well, mine isn't anymore." I changed the food; it made all the difference in the world. So, yeah, I'm a fan.
Well, your cat Thumper is actually the reason why I'm getting the pet food for my son because my wife is overhearing me tell the story about your cat Thumper and the phenomenal results and how he's
Yeah.
jumping back on the bed. And she's like, "Hello, why don't we get our son a bunch of stuff for
Oh,
Christmas
the
for
super
his
sauce
cat?"
is back ordered, and I ran out. And oh my
So
gosh, do I hear about it every morning? That cat will not stop. I'm like, "Come on, Thumper, give me a break. I ordered it."
that's funny.
Boy,
All right. So back to the news. Do you ever hear a guy named Bill Clinton and Gavin Newsom? Are they colluding? Are they conniving? Hmm. I don't know. But we did tell you about that. Go through all the caucuses, win the caucus, become the presidential nominee, and then because of illness or he just decides to resign, he can step down. And guess what the DNC can do? The DNC, without going through a caucus, without going to We the People, they now have a rule from 2022. They can appoint anybody they want to appoint to fill that presidential candidate spot. Is that crazy? According to their rules, it's legal. Well, you think that's just ridiculous? Well, I don't know. Ask yourself, why was the first person that President Xi of China came to visit was Gavin Newsom in San Francisco? Why was Gavin Newsom traveling all over the world and meeting the leaders of all these major countries? Think about this. He's being groomed. So it's something to pay attention to. And Bill Clinton, whether you believe he still exists or not, that guy happened to be hanging out at a golf course with Gavin Newsom in Mexico, I believe. And God knows what they were conniving.
well, it's pretty clear. They keep running with the faux Biden that's there. That thing is run its course, and a lot of people on the left have
he's
woken up and said, "Hey, no more of this guy." So they need a new
he's run
horse.
out of batteries at the least.
Yeah, they need a new horse. This guy's younger. He's got a lot of hair gel, and was it Mark Levin that says that's him, the hair gel guy? It's like, so you got a guy who's younger who has more charisma. Remember, that was the thing that sold Obama, was his charisma. It wasn't his talent, wasn't his election. A year later,
Ah,
yeah.
it's so sad. But
I'm
it
gonna
is
lose
what,
my lunch if we keep talking about this guy.
yeah, so but let's we're gonna have a little fun with this. Bill Clinton, let's put this image up there. His library um, decided to pull something down. Bill Clinton was trolled so hard when his library had a post asking people, guess who ex-President Bill Clinton sent his first email to? Well, of course, the answer would probably be Epstein, and they were trolling him so bad that they actually had to pull the post down. Again, we the people just go out there, have a good time, work really hard, and we will win. We are changing the narrative on the news media like within hours now. Remember, it used to took weeks or years and months and then weeks and then 48 hours. Now, within the 24-hour news cycle, we've already flipped the narrative on the mainstream media so quickly that they don't know what to do anymore. It's fun to watch.
We, the people, have more power than we know. And you know, you go back to what Leslie was talking about. It's like we can do this. We can make a difference. And something is, I tell people all the time, if you want to be a digital warrior, you can't be on the internet quiet. You've got to respond. You've got to like. You've got to reshare. You've got to be active. And this is a great example of that. It's like enough of us went there, and yeah, they pulled it down. They didn't like the response they were getting.
Nope.
Gotta love
handle
it. Gotta love it.
Yeah, there's power in the comments. We always say that, or put your comments in all the time. There's
Always,
a lot of power.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. They're gonna hold him in contempt of Congress. So we'll see where that goes.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. We'll see where that goes. But
well,
guys,
you know,
just
they
keep
did that
pushing.
to Bannon, and they're going to put him in prison for 4 months, right? They did that to Peter Navarro, right? And he's going to go to prison for some amount of time as well. So now the shoe's on the other foot. The pendulum always goes in the opposite direction, right? It swings back. What you do to us, we're going to do to you, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's the golden boomerang that we talk about all the time. And it's fun to watch right now. We're in good times. Good times.
It certainly is. Certainly is.
Speaking about good times, it seems like the mainstream media is getting really nervous over the Epstein reveal. So, in fact, can you read that one for me? I can't see it on my screen, but this is Political. Now, there's several articles like this. Just read the headline and I'll comment on it.
Pizzagate, QAnon and the Epstein list.
So what they're doing on all the mainstream media now is they're trying to tie the Epstein fever, and they're trying to blame it on, they call them right-wing conservatives. They call them QAnon, which QAnon is a fake thing, by the way, just so you know. There's Q and there's anons, but they do that on purpose, right? They link that together because that's their trigger word, and MAGA. So what all these articles are coming out right now and saying, there's nothing to the Epstein thing. The only reason why you think that is because of all the lies and manipulation from MAGA, QAnon, and these right-wing deplorables. So they are running scared. They are very, very afraid of the information that's coming out on the Epstein. So this is the way they deflect. We know their game. Just look at that one's from Politico. That should tell you everything that you need to know right there.
Yeah.
That's a no comment. I get it.
No, it is, and you know, the QAnon thing is always it's one of those things that just, because you know they don't know what they're talking about when they use QAnon. They have no idea what they're talking about, no idea whatsoever, right? If you listen to SG and on, who we're going to have back on the show eventually here. If you listen to him, you know, there's Q, and then there's the Anons, which is us trying to decipher, you know, everything that's going on. We fall in the Anons category, but there's no QAnon.
No, they do that on purpose. Yep. So Epstein's brother seems to reveal. Do you have that video here?
I don't have that video. That's the one that was missing.
Oh, that's the one that's missing. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so I have it here. Here, let me see if I can share screen.
Remember to share with audio if you want the audio to play.
Oh, why should I stop now? No, there's no audio on this one.
Even better.
There, yeah, so it's perfect. Okay, let me see. And there's a new setting here. I'm going to use advanced in Zoom because I can show a portion of the screen.
Cool.
So let's see what portion it shows, and I'll probably have to move this around. We know 100% that Clinton's linked to the Epstein list. In fact, there's several reports. There's a whole bunch of documentation, and there's actually depositions that show that Clinton is directly linked, and probably boys knowing Clinton. But the fact is that we mentioned that what they're going to do is they're going to try to tie President Trump to this. That's the goal here. And we mentioned this is going to be weeks ago. That's what they do. So now that we're doing. Now, what they don't mention is that two people that said President Trump was connected actually already retracted in 2019, one of them, the statement completely. And she goes, I was just trying to get attention, right? So she's already retracted the statement. It doesn't appear that the logs show anything in regards to President Trump. Now, Was he courted by Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, because this is what Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did, is they go after all the billionaires because they want to compromise them. Whether you react to that or not is something. So if I guess President Trump may have went to a party and may have had him someplace else or saw him at a wedding, and it looks like that's about it right now, guys. So I just want to put, I'm not trying to pick a side here, but we do report the news, and there's a lot of fake news out there now. They're trying to deflect the Epstein thing to President Trump. So I think it's important to mention this is the game that they're playing. We knew it was going to happen, and now it seems to be full force.
Yep, they have to have Trump go down with their ship, and they're trying really hard to make that happen. And so far, we see no evidence of it. In fact, we see quite the opposite in the Epstein files. There was a lady who was asked about, and she clearly said no. And that woman who said, "Oh, Trump was involved," she did retract that story back in, like you say, 2019.
So we just, again, we have to correct the narratives over and over and over when they're put out falsely.
And we have to be aware too that there's a lot of AI generated imagery out there, right? With Trump with little girls and this and that. And there was one image where I think he was with his his granddaughters, right? And they put it out there and made it like, oh, he's with these young girls. Well, they were his granddaughters, so probably, that would be normal. You know what I mean? But we got to be careful because you can't believe everything that you see on the internet anymore.
No, they're catching a couple of AI generated things where they have 6 toes or 6 fingers on one of the hands too, or 2 elbows. Yep. So, if you really pay attention, you can start to see this stuff. But now the AIs are only going to get better, guys.
Yep.
So it's going to be harder for us to use our discernment. So we need to be aware of that.
Yep.
Now, in a completely unrelated story, but I think it's very interesting conversation. Almost 20% of office spaces in the US right now are unoccupied. And that's an all-time high. That tells you a lot about what's going on. Now, I believe there's a couple of things involved here, and we can talk about this, Robert. I think the gig economy has something to do with it. I believe the transition from regular industries into medical type industries have to do with it. And most importantly, transition to home and started working from home has a lot to do with it also.
They didn't want to come back after they ended up working from home. They discovered Zoom. Zoom exploded as a company. I mean, 1,000% growth is very conservative for them. They just blew up, and they could not keep up with the growth that was happening so quickly because all the kids were at home, and then all the workers were at home, and then companies kind of realized, why do we have these expensive offices? People are just as productive, they're finding, at home. And what they do is they'll open the Zoom call and they'll leave the Zoom call on all day. So it's as if you're working in the same office, right? So you can just start talking. You don't have to make the call. You're already on the call all day. I don't know, Louis. I don't know if I could be on a call with you all day long and watch you eat and watch you work. You know what I mean? But
no,
maybe.
I feel sorry for anybody that's watching me all day long. I feel sorry for. It wouldn't be a good.
Louis, come up for air. Come up for air. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, but that's really what happened. And so Apple had a really, really difficult time of getting people back. I know Twitter, Elon Musk threatened the employees. They said, either come back to the office 3 days a week or you're fired, right? And Apple had to bribe them to come back, and they're still not back. And where I was in Carlsbad, and Viasat had just built this campus in 2017, 2018, building after building after building. To this day, you drive by and there's 4 cars in that parking lot, 6 cars in that parking lot, completely empty. So, it changed our economy.
Oh, and even bigger, because think about the effect of this. If you have a 20% or an 80% occupancy, let's talk positive. You have an 80% occupancy. These businesses were formed and created on a business model of 95% occupancy. That's how they were created.
Yep.
So therefore, the people that own the offices, the real estate, and the landlords, the leaseholders, what's going to happen? They are going to have to raise the rents to the 80% that exists there in order to make up the difference of the 20% that's lost. And that will affect the economy even more. So these are all markers that we've been talking about. This is why I personally, and I don't direct you to anybody, so I'm not making money off of it, but I personally say silver is the way to go right now because silver is being falsely head down, and the economy, I believe, in the stock market and the dollar and everything is on the verge of an epic collapse.
Yep.
My opinion. I have to state that.
Yeah, I was looking at office rent because I closed my office back in April of last year, and they basically wanted to raise the rent in this economy, and I thought, well, that didn't make any sense. But what you're saying makes sense, is because the landlords have to survive, because there are a lot of companies that will be going out of business, and a lot of them aren't coming back. They're not coming back to the offices. They don't need all that space anymore. So kind of interesting. You're seeing in New York what they're doing with office buildings is they're converting them into residences.
That's right. That's exactly what
I'm going to sleep in the boardroom tonight. Where are you going to sleep, Louis?
Well, they
You're
already
going to sleep by the
Japan.
photocopier, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll be going to the Japan economy
Yeah.
anytime soon, where you work 6 days, you sleep in a cubby hole, you go one day home on the weekends.
Yep.
Now something interesting's happened. You and I both live in Southern California, right?
Yep.
And we're known at least once or twice a year to have pretty heavy winds.
Yep.
But normally the winds are they're called Santa Ana winds, which is a very warm wind. So even during the winter, it warms everything up. So we're projected from today through tomorrow, get this, guys, to reach gusts of 50 to 80 miles an hour. Yet, this is a winter storm, and the temps are dropping fast to the low 40s, which means the wind chill factor in Southern California is going to be well below freezing. Imagine that, because they're not Santa Ana winds. These are cold winds coming through, 50 to 80 miles an hour. We're going to see how everybody's going to be able to handle that. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Santa Ana winds, typical this time of year, come in from the desert. So typically the temperatures would be 70s, 80s. That's why this season is also called fire season, because those winds are extremely hot and extremely dry. So we've seen humidity at like 7%. We've seen temperatures as high as 99 degrees this time of year. And then you have these wildfires that are just completely out of control. They can't even get the helicopters in the air because the wind is so strong. So this is a winter storm. That means it must be coming up off the ocean, coming the opposite direction. Santa Ana comes from inland out, so the wind's actually in the reverse. So this one's coming in from the ocean. Not normal, not typical for this time of year.
Yeah. No, not normal at all.
Not
Just so
normal.
you know, your mic seems to be cutting out a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to finish up with some of, I know this is a lot of people, their favorite part of our show here. We call them Robert calls it the WTH moment. I call it the WTF moment. And you don't want to know what Lisa Richards calls it. But it's very interesting. We have fun with this, guys. So let's play our first video. We named it They Live Glasses, if you remember the movie They Live. Wow, very interesting. I maybe, is that a wink? Won't look into this further.
You won't look into this further. It makes a lot of sense, though.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. I winked, won't look into this further. I think it's fascinating, and it's interesting. One of my prayers that I do all the time is I ask God to make it very easy to discern evil from good, because I think that's important.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it
it be cool if I just got a pair of glasses that could do that for me?
Oh, I think they'd be a hit at a party.
Hey, yeah. They'd be hit. All right.
That too, yeah.
All right. Now, your favorite person in the world, we have a video of. I know you just absolutely adore this person. Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah, not really.
You have to name it to claim
So,
it. So here's my
she's
definition
the
of what wellness
queen
means
of
to me.
awesomeness.
This is my
Let's
definition, not yours.
show this
This is an
video.
idea. because you're going to be defining it for yourself. Wellness to me means all things in balance. And balance doesn't mean all things are equal or at peace at all times. Wrong shoes.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have to decipher this one?
All things in balance. And it doesn't mean balance of all things at all times, right? And she falls. Yeah, beautiful. By the way, what they're pointing out in the video is there's a little orb. And did you notice the flash of light where and that's probably the aperture on the lens, but what if that orb affected the aperture on the lens too? I don't know. This is a tinfoil hat moment, but I think it's very interesting. All things in balance, and then she falls and she says, "Oh, my shoes." And my wife pointed out, she will not wear high heels. She says, "Those shoes aren't very high. There's no reason she should have fell in those."
Unless there's a crack in the stage or something, I don't know. But that doesn't make any sense that she would just fall, and she really fell.
Yeah, she really went down.
Yeah,
I think it's I think it's more of a crack in character, but you know.
Well, it could be that too. Yeah.
All right. Before we finish up with our last video, I just have to say it because I'm so in love with this product. This is Neumi. This is Neumi Skin.
Right? We have to have a little spray. Woohoo!
There you go.
I love it.
I'm 124 years old and I look 80, so it must be doing something pretty good. NutraSwitch by Neumi is the most powerful antioxidant on the world, and it gets right into your system, and it connects with your mitochondria, and your mitochondria goes to work, and it will find what's going on and work on making you healthy. It's just phenomenal. And they have another product called Hers, which, as Robert knows, I joke around, called Hers for him, because ladies, whether it's their cycle, their pre or post menopause, it is doing wonders. I'm hearing the ladies say the hot flashes are gone immediately. Their mood swings don't exist. Their libido increases. So the net result is it's also good for men.
And there you'll find it, lherms.neumi.com. That first letter is an L, lherms.neumi.com. Or you could scan that QR code. If you're a little bit high-tech and want to get there quicker, that's the way to do it.
Or if you're on Robert's channel, go into his description below and click the link, which is Renegade Media.
RenegadeMedia.tv. Yes, absolutely. Cool.
Perfect.
We got one more story, huh?
Well, it's kind of interesting, and a lot of people wanted me to tell this story, and because I really couldn't understand what these guys were saying too much, so you really have to pay attention to this video. But in essence, these cops are talking about how fun it would be to plan the assassination of President Trump. And these are police officers. Wow. That's what I have to say. These are your civil servants, the people that are supposed to be protecting and serving, talking about how fun it would be to I don't know what to say.
No, you don't. There's some. It was in Gateway Pundit. They had published this. I think it was yesterday, and they posited that they were journalists, but they don't look like journalists. They look like police.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are police. Yeah. Unless they're journalists wearing police uniforms.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very crazy.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that does it for us right now. We appreciate our guest that we had on today. I appreciate Robert Imbraley. We love everybody out there. God bless you. We're going to have an amazing program tomorrow. So be back here, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Love you. And we'll see you all tomorrow.